Well, I didn't see this coming. Could anyone? Yeah, a free demo put out there for a Gothic remake. I usually don't talk about demos or early access games, but in this case, I think I need to make an exception. In fact, they made this demo asking for feedback on it. So as someone who's played the video game, I guess I'm qualified. I just have editing software, I'm like anyone else in the Steam forum, so it's not a proper review, just some impressions of a demo. Obviously, it's a given that the visuals will be a lot better. Gothic 1 is nearly 20 years old and— oh, Jesus Christ, what? Why does my torch have a lens flare? I can't escape it. It's like the whole game takes place on Venus. I mean, what's happening? Wait, let me start over. So the first cutscene shows a lot of promise. It's faithful and captures the spirit of the first game well. It's the ride down where things get different. In Gothic 1 you're just pushed into a hole, but in the remake—
what the? Oh! Oh, that was close. Oh, shit!
Action, explosions, the music swells. It's not the worst change, but for me, it was a worrying one. The nameless hero is doing action movie shit, and that wasn't how the first game started off tonally. But there could still be more to this. Now, I usually trim cutscenes down, but for this next part, I'm not going to do that. I want you to feel the character's first impression with the full impact the game has for you. So let's skip ahead to him landing.
Oh, god damn it. What the hell just happened? Oh, I'm in one piece. Oh, thank God, no blood. Oh, where's the scroll? Oh, it's alright. Great, okay. Let's move on. Right, okay. Right. Let's light this up. Oh, good. That'll do, I hope. Where are we? What a mess. What's going on here? Alright. God damn it. Let's get the hell out of here.
This guy narrates everything. Just completely unnecessary actions like run a children's show.
I'll leave it here for a moment. You don't mind if I take this with me, do you? I need it more than you do at the moment. Come on, my pretty. Come with me. Oh, god damn it. Shit. It's broken.
I get what they're going for. He's supposed to be the dastardly, wisecracking rogue, and he doesn't take it too seriously. He's a fun guy, but his constant narrating just makes him come off like a moron immediately. It's to the point where him just being completely silent would be more likable. You know, he could look panicked and start patting himself and then pull out the scroll and go, whew, and put it back, and we'd get what's happening. Instead, we have just constant noise of, where's my keys? Oh, they're in my pocket. Go find the car. Oh, there it is. It also doesn't help that a lot of his dialogue reminds me of DMC. Except DMC would try to be so edgy that it was funny. This is watching someone fail to be charming.
But what the hell? What are you? Okay, easy boy. Let's make it easy for both of us. Okay, calm down. Worst prison ever. Definitely. I have to get out of here as soon as I can.
They took a soft-spoken character who got things done and made him an instantly unlikable Kmart Geralt. It feels hollow, like the game is begging you to think he's cool. In the original, he starts dressed like a worker because he's a prisoner. Now he starts with armor pieces on and tattoos and things that make you want to say, oh, he's a badass. The whole charm of Gothic is that you earn that status. You start from the lowest position possible, you don't know what you're doing, and you work your way up. This game seems afraid that it can't hold your attention. The character should always be saying something funny or something needs to blow up. It's the exact opposite of tone people liked about the series. I remember seeing a wolf and being afraid of it, but now I'm massacring packs of wolves right from the start and achievements are flying up and it's very different.
We call it the colony, and we produce ore for the king.
I've gotten ahead of myself, but my first piece of feedback is less is more. I don't need to be reminded of Jurassic World while playing a Gothic game. You don't need a menu that has sparks flying all over it. It's the we want the Call of Duty audience thing all over again. I could be wrong, but I would assume the majority of people interested in this are fans of Gothic. I'm not saying you need to remake the same game beat for beat, but when you twist some things too far, then it starts to not add up. For example, the exchange zone exploding. This is how the colony trades with the outside world, and it also gives Gomez a lot of his power. You would think all hands on deck would be there to fix it immediately, but it's just some guy poking around. Maybe things like that'll make more sense in the full game, but in the demo, it's just really baffling. No, it's not all bad. There's good stuff too, but first I need to talk about the visuals. I feel like I'm always looking at a terrible E&B filter. This game has horrible post-processing effects. And of course, there's no way to individually toggle effects like lens flares. You just set one option lower and lower and pray. When you do that, it changes so many other effects that it completely changes the look of the game, and now nothing's giving off light anymore. So now you have to choose between a pitch black night mod for an Elder Scrolls game, or light effects covering the screen. The bloom is so harsh that it's hard to even tell that the sky is covered with a big magic shield. Everything is either too harsh or too washed out. The thing is, the actual art assets are high quality. The game can look astoundingly better in some areas when the stuff is turned off. But once again, everything is tied to one post-processing option, so what works in one area will not work in another. I never found the magic set of checkboxes that made everything just click together. I tried all kinds of options, but never happened. The game looks needlessly worse for it. It's not just this game either, it seems to be a trend with Unreal 4 games. Please have options for it, I don't want to dig around the engine for this stuff. The menus are also awkward to navigate because they're clearly made with a controller in mind, so it could be the PC version isn't a priority for a Gothic game. So on a technical level, it is kind of a mess. The art direction is great though, there's a lot of details in the environment and the characters, but I'm seeing it through an oily sandwich bag. There's a good looking game here, it's just being drowned by gloss. Individual effect options would be wonderful. Now then, let's talk about the gameplay.
Thank you very much. See you around.
Hey, we had an agreement, remember? A painkiller if you opened the door for me.
First of all, an honourable and upright old camp guard would never let himself be bribed, man. And secondly, I said maybe I could open it. I never said I would. Well, welcome to the colony, Rocky.
Alright. The core of the gameplay is heading in the right direction. Little activities from the original are back, and some have been improved. You're still able to explore around, and there are treasures and secrets to find. There's no minimap or quest marker to blindly follow. You're expected to use your brain, which is good news. I prefer following hints compared to a dot in the screen. I still saw issues, mainly with the very first quest you get. You're new to the prison, so you need to find a good shank. There's a good one near the elevator, but the guy there won't let you have it unless you deal with his two old friends. When you get over there, there's one less old friend. You face him off in combat with your own broken sword, and if you defeat him, you can either spare him or kill him. How this goes will supposedly affect your standings with them in the game and maybe change some things later on. You can take the simple route and get the original sword, or spend a little more time on it and find the treasure room with a better sword. This may seem good, but you may have noticed this already. There's an issue. The last of the old friends has one. Looks really shiny too. How come I can't just take that one when I beat him? When the quest was being written, someone likely wrote down something like, the player comes across the two characters fighting. You defeat Source in combat, you etc, move on from that. But when the art team animated and modeled the fight, they gave him a sword, which is what you're looking for. This glaringly sticks out when they're trying to make everything so grounded. You know what, how about I just take the sword?
What do you think you're doing, Rookie?
Okay, I'm sorry. My mistake. It won't happen again.
What do you think you're doing, Rookie?
Okay, I'm sorry. My mistake. It won't happen again.
You can't even try to steal the sword and fight him for it. Muggings are a huge part of the Gothic experience. If this quest was in Gothic 1, they'd let you try. You'd probably get your ass kicked, but they'd let you try. Here, you don't have the option at all. That's my other big takeaway from the demo. You should be able to try things out and experiment, even if you die and learn a hard lesson from it. There are so many games that already start you as wisecracking tough man. Overestimating myself and having something funny or bad happen from it are some of my best memories from Gothic. Take my training wheels off, I'm ready, father. Some mechanics aren't fully in yet, so I'm neutral on them. Having the Forerunner combat system seems like a good idea. It's mainly geared towards 1v1 and not very good with groups, but Gothic 1 was also like that for the most part, so it works. I'm curious how Magic will go with it. That's it. So to sum up my own meager advice in a sentence, it would be less over the top, more thoughtful. I'm interested to see what other people think of the remake in the comments. Still, I figured it shouldn't just be me doing an impressions video, so I invited a few other people to give their own thoughts on the remake. Let's get started.
The potential for a very fun game is here, and they modernized the gameplay in some interesting ways. When it first throws you into that jarring combat sequence, it feels overwhelming, but it also illustrates that this isn't a game you can hack and slash your way through. Unlike the original, it doesn't make me sick to look at it. Looks pretty good, sounds pretty good too. What's immediately apparent is the developer's appreciation for the charm of the original. It's very distinct, even for someone who wasn't in love with that game. I felt it, and I appreciate feelings. And I appreciate not having them for most of the time also. I don't know if it's too late in the game to fix the protagonist, but don't let him narrate every mundane fucking thing that his eyes perceive, like some kind of overly observant Jason Statham.
Hang on, what am I standing on? It's like some kind of earth. I wonder if it's flat or if it's like a globe.
It's just like, I get it. I see you picking up a torch. You don't have to tell me that's what you're doing. I got my own eyes. I can make my own observations about things. I see the world for what it is. A nightmare.
The first two Gothic games have a lot of redeeming qualities that make them timelessly engaging, and to me personally it's the particular brand of open world design that made it into such a peerless RPG experience. In short, character progression is intimately connected to meticulously placed and unique, meaning non-respawning, enemies to create a web of natural progression borders. Borders designed to subtly nudge players in the right direction, which in turn creates a palpable sense of growth, both across the game's environment and your character sheet in tandem. And while the current teaser is just an experimental demo, I get the strong sense that the developers didn't really understand all the nuts and bolts of what made the OG Gothic's open world so compelling. Where in the original, every enemy felt like an irreplaceable jigsaw piece in an overarching spatial progression puzzle, with a combat designed to perfectly support this core idea. In this demo, enemies feel arbitrarily placed, and it's already quite effortlessly possible to cheese your way through fights that should be way out of your league at that point. Where the original Gothic was a finely polished, rock-solid sculpture of incrementally bigger roadblocks for the player's growth, the new teaser's imitation of it feels like it's built out of wet paper mache in comparison.
I'm always of the mind that in RPGs you should either be a kind of quiet protagonist if you're wanting to put the player's choices in the forefront, whereas in something like The Witcher, you're playing Geralt of Rivia, so Geralt should stand out as a character. They really tried to impress you with their mocap and animation abilities during dialogue. Overall, it's pretty good. I did notice that the facial animations are pretty stiff, so hopefully they can kind of loosen it up a bit. Some really excellent creature and character model design. Armor and weapons look and feel really nice. I was really impressed by particularly the armor and all its little pieces and how leather straps connected to the cave that was flowing and had cloth physics. One of the things I really liked was that it wasn't handed to you on a silver platter. You actually had to listen to directions and actually pay attention and figure out clues to be able to proceed, rather than having a quest marker system and a pre-built map. I really liked the combat. It felt really tense and energetic. Timing and animations felt a little bit off, but I really liked the premise of it. Attacks felt really impactful. I have to say that the UI when you're running around is really nice and minimal, but when you get into combat, the really thick, bright green bars with white bars underneath could be a bit less intrusive. But overall, I'm really interested in what THQ Nordic brings to the table. I love the adventurous spirit of the game, and the old school hands-off design meets modern production values. I really appreciate what they were going for, and despite its really rough edges, hopefully this project is greenlit.
Gothic 2K19, the teaser. Now, I've never played a Gothic in my life, but I've watched enough YouTube videos about the topic to bitch about it. Fuck. Except not all the videos in the world would have helped me, because aside from the crippling jank, this teaser has nothing in common with the rest of the Gothic franchise, because it removed all the elements of RPG in favor of trying to rip off The Witcher. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Yeah, it's a stance system. What's the best way to introduce it, though? A fight with bandits? Nah, pit of velociraptors. I'm just glad that what I learned in Mordhau applies here. Just stab them until they die, and then for animals, just don't lock onto them, just whack them until they die. Unless they're invincible, because what is a choice in an RPG but the illusion of choice? I did enjoy the treasure hunt. I enjoyed the fact that every time I passed by the tree with the Y on it, my character went,
You've seen this shape? Strange symbol on the tree.
I'm an adult, you don't have to hold my hand, I get it. I saw the note. I saw the Y, I know where it's. At least I own Gothic 2 now.
What else can be said? It's a free demo. You can check it out if you want. There'll be a real game next time.
And this is just the beginning.
Please, it can't be real.
Wait, what? What does that mean? Well, that was different. I figured I'd try something slightly different since people have been asking about early access games and all that, but I'll be back to the regular videos for a while. On to questions. Any plans to review Gothic 2? Well, you may have already seen the, well, eventually. I'll review it here eventually, but I decided to do something with the remake since I made a video about one. Did you play Supreme Commander's granddaddy, Total Annihilation? Yeah, I played a lot of that game, and I also played a lot of the spin-off, TA Kingdoms, which was a lot of fun, but was horribly unbalanced when I played it. But hyperbalancing ruined RTS games, so who cares? Do you speak very much Russian, or do you just like the games? I don't speak much of it. Just by working with a translator and general osmosis look at YouTube comments, I've actually learned a few phrases, well, I can read Russian a lot better than hearing it. It's actually kind of surprising just how much I can read or see a phrase and kind of understand what the person is saying. I'll probably have to sit down and learn it properly eventually. I have to cut this short, there are coyotes fighting outside. Listen to this. Fuck off!